With this, I also noticed a similar story come out of South Korea. Although this isn't two military vehicles running into each other, it was a U.S. Armored, I believe, personnel carrier ran
Yeah.
into a civilian SUV and killed four people inside of it, which caused the U.S. to, what they say, suspend training operations in the area. This was some, training thing the U.S. was doing, and it just plowed over this SUV. From my understanding, everybody inside the SUV was killed instantly.
Yeah.
And I guess the interesting thing to me is that, this is, again, it wasn't a big deal. I think they say four U.S. soldiers had concussion-like symptoms from the situation in Syria, which, look, concussions could be serious. I'm not trying to downplay that, but everybody's alive, everybody's fine, probably got a couple headaches. Syria or South Korea, four people are dead. The amount of nukes coverage that one gets from the other is significant. It's demanded that Donald Trump call Vladimir Putin and explain what the hell is going on in Syria. And yet there's nobody saying that Donald Trump owes a call to Moon Jae-in, the president of South Korea, to express his condolences for this. We had to stop these training activities. Nothing. So,
Right.
well, I was wondering what you thought about this. I know you actually saw some video of the art, maybe not video, but aftermath of the wreckage, and were able to attest that this was a pretty serious collision.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the car that was involved in this got completely totaled, and the APC was like barely even touched. Like I think the two American soldiers were just fine and went right back to duty, whereas these four civilians, I think they're all middle-aged people. They like died instantly. It's not totally clear to me why this APC was on. Like if you see some of the photos, it looks like it was a freeway, and so it may have been that like this was like a high-speed collision that the car may have been going fairly fast. And I'm not totally clear either that it may be that the car crashed into they like rear-ended the APC, but it's still like if you have a tank driving slowly down a freeway at night or something, then like that is a major obstacle. You're blocking the roadway there. I'm not totally sure what they were doing in the road. I think a police source told Yonhap News, a South Korean outlet, that they were on their way back to base or something. There was a live fire range pretty close by, so that may have been what they were doing. But yeah, it does seem like this was rough. This is a really gnarly incident, and yeah, we're not really going to hear much about it. It's not going to be turned into any kind of incident. Like I think it's largely probably people just like us who are talking about this.
Right. When I read this story, I kind of imagined the possibility that the SUV had run up on this thing fairly quick or something like that. I don't know how fast, if these things travel fast enough to go like the minimum speed on a South Korean freeway. And
Yeah, I
so
think
if
it's
you
a tracked vehicle. Like it has tracks.
right. Or and then again, what's like the rear lighting on this thing? If
Right.
you're traveling down a highway at night, I used to drive like from Kenosha to St. Louis when I was in college, and I would do that drive at night a lot of times. And let me tell you something: if a vehicle didn't have lights on in front of it, I think it'd be pretty easy to run to the back of it down
Yeah.
these dark highways at night and stuff like that. And facts could come out later. Maybe the guy was like blitzed out of his mind, and they were all snorting coke off each other and going crazy down the highway, and happened to what like, and that just happened to be what was in the way. But at the same time, you have to imagine if there was an American personnel carrier there, even if they had rear-ended another SUV, it probably wouldn't have resulted in this. But these aren't infrequent that something like this will happen every year. It was within the past year, there was a first claimed to be the wife of an American diplomat, but then later maybe a CIA agent
Oh, I didn't hear that
was,
part. You talking about the
and
UK?
yeah, it was this lady who ran over this kid on his motorcycle, and then
Yeah.
the U.S. sent her back and is refusing to extradite her. There was this drunk U.S. officer in Pakistan who ran over some guy on like a, I don't know if it was a bike or what you called it. I think it had like a little thing behind it, that he would
Rickshaw
like,
thing or
yeah,
something.
rickshaw thing behind it. But yeah, the guy just ran over, killed some guy in Pakistan. Shrug, no
Right.
accountability, no nothing, about that poor soul. But and again here, this is never even talked about with U.S. foreign policy as like being part of the cost that now these four South Koreans are dead. And things like this happen in Japan too. I remember it wasn't that long ago that I think me and you were talking on the show about the door. I think it fell off an osprey over Okinawa, and like landed on or near a school and could have killed like some crushed some little kid to death. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like these are the things that happen because the U.S. is in so many countries, over 100 countries around the world, and I'm sure it creates a lot of anti-American sentiment. I
Yeah,
sure
no
would.
kidding.
I don't know if I would ever forgive a country that resulted in for my you said these are four adults, so maybe a couple couples or something, but two of my relatives being killed, my friends being killed, it'd be a lot to take. And I wonder, I know there is like feeling in South Korea that the American presence isn't helpful. We've covered protest movements against things like the U.S. THAAD missiles that have been deployed to South Korea. And
Right.
so maybe we'll see some protests and stuff like that. And it seems like the U.S. has, like, again, suspended training, but it's very limited. And it may be just to that live firing range. And my kind of sense was that they didn't want vehicles probably driving past the memorial for these people for the foreseeable future. But
Right.
I don't think it's gonna any way change what the U.S. and South Korean relationship is.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression that there's going to be any like wide scale pause of training. I think they just meant, yeah, in this one little area, this one neighborhood or something. And yeah, I mean, like you mentioned Okinawa, there is a lot of precedent there for American servicemen doing wrong. And there's a lot of feeling in Okinawa and Japan of, opposing the American presence. And we may start seeing some of that similar kind of sentiment in, South Korea.